What's going on today, guys? Primal Sabbath here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Transform Element Black Widow. This is their, maybe it's Legend scale, maybe it's Chug Vintage scale, Blackarachnia. Maybe it's their own scale, but it's definitely a small figure. Real quick, you get a box that I just knocked over. It comes in a brown mailer, which is pretty cool. At least it did from Agabus, which is where this one came from. This came from Agabus, so they've got them in stock. You should go pick them up at Agabus, agabus.com. Anyways, this is actually on loan to me from my boy Tyler G from Stasis Lock, because I'm still wasn't too sure if I was going to get one for myself, and I'm still not for the most part. That said, I think I am probably going to pick up their Rat Trap. We'll get into it, but simple box. It's got a nice presentation. I like this kind of holographic thing going on here, and then mistransformed right here on the back, which we took a look at on Stasis Lock, but. Yeah, pretty neat. I think, if I'm not mistaken, these are from the same designer that designed the Transfamer third-party, not knockoff. People think it's a knockoff Dinobot. So anyways, you get the figure itself, and you get a little piece, which I've already replaced, but we'll go into it. I'm going to show the transformation just because it is small enough. I don't have any beast mode comparisons, but as you can see, as a spider, it doesn't clean up too bad, or it cleans up well enough, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There's only so many ways you can skin a cat, and it is very similar to how the Masterpiece transforms. I mean, down to the kind of claw hands coming out the back. The head, I think, rested up in here on the Masterpiece, and the Masterpiece had a more rounded bottom. And, I mean, even with the gold kind of peeking through here, and these, it does have these little kind of thigh-covered pieces on as well. But, I mean, like, saying all that, I mean, it looks good from this angle. Like, it even kind of looks good from this angle. It's only when you start to sort of move it up a little bit, things get a little shaky, a little maybe questionable. I don't know. For such a small scale, like, how are you going to really complain about what they can and can't do? She's a bit of a parts former, which I don't mind. The only thing that I don't really care for is that this piece has to be interchanged, so it's not like you could really like kind of take her and go. I mean, if you wanted to have like an additional set of little spider eyes, on this kind of front butt, I don't know spider analogies, or not analogies, anatomies. Goodness. So if you want spider eyes on her front butt, you can't get spider eyes on her front butt. So there's that. She's got two little pegs here, but I think, yeah, okay, I know what those are for. So let's get into it. This was a pain to remove. Just kind of wiggle and pull, and you can see this one's a pain to remove, and I made sure I didn't push it all the way down, but you got to get in there with a fingernail and wiggle and pull. For the sake of getting this to Tyler G, I'm going to push this one all the way back on and let him fight with it. So, I mean, it doesn't look terrible, but you can definitely know, like, her eyes are here. They're not supposed to be here. Something I do think is kind of neat. I don't know how well it'll show up. Well, maybe it was just my eyes playing tricks on me, but I could have swore they had the little pupils on there, but just great detail for such a tiny, tiny figure. So, all right, get that out of the way. Transforming her was pretty straightforward. It wasn't too difficult, but you'll take that out, which, again, I don't mind the parts forming. This was tricky to get out with fingernails, but these little mandible pieces here, they are going to fold up in there, and they can kind of stay up in there, and they kind of sort of lock in, so you need to get you something to pick those out with, just for what it's worth. I'm not going to do it, because, I mean, I'm already doing it, right? Then the arms come out. And again, she has the kind of spinning shoulder armor pieces that the Masterpiece does, which, again, I like. I think that's pretty neat. That will fold up into there. And then you'll split these legs, or it will be the legs. Move that. That's her gun. And these pieces will pop off. They will pop off. They're held in. You can see there's that little slot right there, and there's a little clip piece right there, and there's the tab for that slot, you can kind of see, and that clip piece just clips onto her ankle. Her knee joints were pretty tight, and she does have two knee joints. She's got a double bend right there at the knee. This is the tight one. This is the one you need to bend with her like broken shin bone right there to get her into spider mode. If you're bending at the top one, none of it's going to fit. It's going to be a little janky. So keep that in mind when you're doing it. And that's really the only thing you need to really, like if you're having any issues, it should be the only thing you'd be having issues with. And then you spin the boobies around. And the boobies are a soft plastic, but once you get them spun around and plugged in, they don't really go anywhere. So no preverted poses or preverted videos or preverted things. Then you'll spin her little head around, and there she is, transformed. Now, these little spider legs don't move, and I don't hate that. I think that's probably for the best. That said, be careful with them, because you don't want to, like, go manhandling this thing, no pun intended, and have those little spider legs break, because, I mean, they are a thin plastic. They have a little bit of give to them, but not a whole lot. So now you're kind of left with some spare pieces. You can set them off to the side if you want her to have a more, I guess, sort of traditional Blackarachnia look. She does not have a waist swivel, and I believe my boy Matthew Deluxe Baldwin had a problem with that. I really don't. It's neither here nor there for me. For whatever reason, they couldn't get, which, I mean, it's probably for a paint reason, but the boobies and the shoulder armor are a different shade of gold than the rest. Again, probably for the best, considering that they do need to be pliable, like these spider legs. And I'd rather these spider legs have been this color than gold. Just, you know, kind of little happy sacrifices. If you want to, you can take this okay, wrong side. Take this, what was the spider butts, and then you line it up with the square holes and the square pegs, and you plug them on, which I like, and personally, if it was mine, that's how I would display it in robot mode, is this way. There we go. Line it all up, don't rush anything. It kind of gives her a very silly side profile, but what are you going to do, right? And then for her weapon, you just match up. You can see that. There's a hole, there's a peg. Match them up, push them down, and then rotate that piece around. And there you have her little claw hook gun thing. There's nowhere to store this. You guys know how I feel about weapon storage, especially on Beast Wars. I mean, I guess you could probably you can't really do anything there. So yeah, no place to store it other than her hand, which is an acceptable storage spot. But again, you guys know how I'm about weapon storage. So there we have her. Let's get her standing up. Let's get that down. Let's zoom her out a little bit. So not bad. I do like this. We've seen several pictures of her with the original Silverbolt, which I think is a good look personally. But I don't know how many of these we've seen, these comparisons. So I tried to kind of be a little unique with it. There's the Takara Blackarachnia from the original line. So there's that. And I guess alternatively, if it's something that would probably be displayed better, there is Tarantulas. So now this definitely, I would say, is not within the vintage scale. Not as close as I thought it maybe would have been. At least not that I think. Unfortunately, my scale posters are too far away. But yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know if this is scale. If this is what you would call scale. And probably my personal favorite comparison to make is her and Quick Strike. This, I feel, is comparable. So there he is with a sugar bot. So I think maybe this works. You know, and they could just be doing a scale thing all on their own, which is perfectly acceptable. Companies should do things all on their own, but it's also neat when it fits in with the vintage line. So, I don't know. You know, like that's the one thing that was going to kind of have me pick this thing up, is if it's scaled with vintage. But with it being so small, it might scale with its, it might just be one of those deals where it scales with their own. I don't think it's going to scale well with the Transformer Dinosaur, so if you're getting it for that, maybe hold off, because I think he's definitely going to be far too big. But on her own, she's not awful. She has all the articulation I think you could want something this small to have. And again, these little hip pieces move out of the way. She's got adequate storage, again, with the exception of this extra part. The paint on her is not awful. I feel it's show accurate enough, especially, again, at such a small scale. And it seems sturdy enough for such a small figure. And, I am looking forward to the Rat Trap, but I think ultimately I'm going to pass on the Blackarachnia. But, that's just kind of my own, things. I don't know, maybe they announced they're doing, like, the Transmetals and the Transmetal 2s and stuff like that. I might dip my toes in that way. But as it is, I don't really have a use for it personally. But it is a neat figure. Do I think it's worth the $40? Absolutely. I mean, $40, I think that's kind of your average Legend scale price. I know the original Blackarachnias can be a little pricey, so I would definitely check it out. But anyways, that has been my review of the Transform Element Black Widow. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment box. Thanks again to Tyler G for loaning this to me, and I'll catch you guys later.